What is happening, my block buddies? This is a brand new episode of Blocked Content with an extremely, very awesomely special guest. It's NintenDaan.
Hello, everybody.
So I'm very happy to have you on the show. For the viewers who may not know who you are, which might be like 5% or something, tell us a little bit about who you are exactly.
Sure, I am Daan Koopman. I am the European editor of both Go Nintendo and Nintendo World Report. I do also a Dutch website called NintenDaan and a magazine called Nintendo Force Magazine. Next to that, I do make videos on YouTube on a daily basis, well, semi-daily basis. And next to that, I tweet away on my Twitter feed.
So you're extremely busy and you're loving Nintendo just like everyone who's listening. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, Nintendo is basically my job now, so yeah.
That's really awesome to hear. So there's one special thing why I really wanted to talk to you at this moment. I mean, we've been friends for quite a while, and I love NintenDaan? I think that's what it's called, right?
And Nintendo. It's officially how we say it, but yeah, for sure.
Oh, I love that one. I've been on that website since it was actually very little. I think it's been going on for a while now, right?
Yeah, I think it's been running well over 10 years, even in the GameCube era, so it has been there for a very long time.
Oh man, I was there.
I went for three stages. First it was called GameCube with a Q somewhere, I think. Then it was 3DS, and now it's Nintendo.
Okay, well, I'm very happy that it's still around, and I'm very happy that you're around because you actually got to play the Nintendo Switch, and I'm very sure that a lot of people listening here on Block Content are very curious as to what you thought of it, and I want to ask you 10 million questions, but I think straight out of the gate, the most important question right now is how do you feel?
I'm in two mindsets right now. At one point, I really love the Switch hardware. Everything about it seems fantastic, honestly. Especially how the Joy-Cons feel on their own, and within the handheld mode, they're awesome. And I really love the Pro Controller. I'm not so sure about the Joy-Con grip, but that's another story. And the games just look sharp, either on the television or in handheld mode. But games-wise, I don't necessarily think all of the content is there yet. They showed a bunch of games to me, including Splatoon 2, 1 to Switch, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. But especially at launch, you only really have Zelda and 1 to Switch, and whatever else comes out that day.
Yeah, so it kind of feels like Nintendo did show off a lot in the presentation. Not everything of that was available to play, and for sure, at launch, we'll really only have Zelda at this point. Were there any things that you played in the games that were available to you that you were like, okay, this is going to be the system seller? Something in Mario Kart or in Zelda?
Well, Mario Kart is a whole other story because it was already a known entity. Like, it was a game on Wii U. Like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is coming to Switch. And where it differs is that it now has a battle mode, which might not seem like a odd inclusion, but let's not kid ourselves. The battle mode in Mario Kart 8, originally on Wii U, was not good.
It was trash. Yeah, it was not that good.
No, it was not all that good at all, especially when you were playing on Moo Moo Farm and just driving circles to hit each other. It was just super boring. But now they have actual battle courses, and there's a one called Battle Stadium that I've seen, and then there is two of them. One is the NES one, Battle Course 1, and there's also Urchin Underpass from Splatoon.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Yeah, we saw a couple of new things that are available in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Did you get to play with the Inklings? Did you enjoy the new stage?
Well, especially with the battle stage, Urchin Underpass. Like, it has really that Splatoon-esque feeling, but they make it really a Mario Kart version of it. Like, you still have the hills, you still have the wide open area in the middle, but it's all a bit more spread out, and especially the areas where you usually would sneak the other way around, like going through the fence and everything, they made it more open and more accessible. But overall, it's a really solid battle map. I think it's already showing one of the strongest innings in this entry. And it's a really solid map. Yeah, the characters, I mostly played with King Boo and the Inklings.
That's awesome. King Boo is back.
Yeah, King Boo is definitely back. He is a heavy character again, so he's one harder to control initially, but when you get a good grip of him, he's actually really fun. The Inklings are definitely the part where I was like, yes, I'm totally on board with this. And I played a lot of them through like the Grand Prix test period where so basically the setup for the races was they had 8 handheld mode switches around the table, and we were all connected and had multiplayer matches through that fashion.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so that's also why firsthand I got to experience like the Switch on the handheld mode, and my lord, man, especially on Wii U gamepad, I didn't like playing that off TV because the colors looked really washed out.
Really washed, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But it looks so sharp solely on the tablet. Like, I was like just amazed looking at it. That it's super against reflective, and you can play it easily without any like problem, which is so nice. And you know, it takes a while to get a hold of how you need to hold it, but once you do, it just feels so good. But yeah, we got to play 4 different tracks. So we got all play DLC tracks. So they're like, yeah, the DLC is in this. Go play the DLC tracks instead here. So
yeah, they're new ones.
Yeah. So we have the Hyrule Castle one, the Animal Crossing one, the Yoshi's Island. So that's one of the ones that we played during that session, and yeah, it seemed all well and good.
So that was multiplayer, which was wireless, of course. Did you notice any like slowdown? I think it was 60 frames, right? Everything.
Yeah, it's 60 frames. I think likely it's a lower resolution one undocked, so like 720p, I think, because it's also 720p screen. But it still seems to run at 60 frames per second regardless of which mode you're playing.
Okay, well, a little while ago, there was online a little bit of a comparison between Breath of the Wild, graphic-wise, and on the Wii U and on the Switch. Did you notice anything in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe that was like, oh, okay, so now they have more power, they can do this, or the lighting looks better, or like any tiny details that you could pick out?
Not necessarily. I don't think there's a major difference between those two games. And to be honest, like, Mario Kart 8 was already a great-looking game on Wii U.
That's true.
I don't think they could have added all that much to it, if I'm being frank. And that's why I didn't really notice a major difference. But with Breath of the Wild, it's definitely there, because I was at E3 2016 and I played that demo a lot.
Yeah, me too.
During my second day, they unlocked the time limit for me.
That's very nice.
So I got to play it for 2.5 hours straight. So I know all the intricate details of that demo, and especially the frame rate wise, it seemed to drop over the place. Not as bad as you think, but there were still problems there.
Yeah, especially with explosions and big fires and stuff like that. It was really slowing down for me as well.
Yeah. But none of that was really present in the build that they showed at the Frankfurt event, which was basically the same opening as the E3 demo, but naturally running on Switch. And the twist was that the first 10 minutes they wanted to show Zelda purely on television. Then the second half of that demo they wanted to show it on just undocked. So I got to see it both ways, and it definitely seemed to run better than on Wii U.
Okay, that's amazing to hear. I mean, a lot of people are looking forward to a big open world game that you can finally hold in your hands. And, you know, you had some time with the new Zelda game. Did you leave the Great Plateau, or was it still on the Great Plateau? Did you find any new areas?
Like I said, it was still the opening of the game. So they only showed us again the opening of the game, which was the same thing we saw at E3, honestly. And I don't know if it was a... Okay, so here's the weird thing. This build didn't say the word demo on it, and it said when we were in the main menu, new game. So I think what we saw was actually the full game running on Switch hardware.
Okay, yeah, because it's coming in March 3rd now, so it has to be very close to being finished, right?
Yeah.
So what I thought was really interesting about what we saw about the new Zelda in the trailer that was shown in the Switch presentation was, all these different environments, all that kind of stuff. What are your thoughts on, where Zelda can go in this game?
An open world Zelda game in itself is kind of an unknown entity because we don't know if we're gonna like it yet. Honestly, we have some good impressions from playing those demos, but ultimately, it depends on how the game will turn out. But as a whole, I think a bold new direction for Zelda is a good thing. And what we have seen so far is that they're really going for well-spread environments with a lot of life and a lot of character, bunch of enemies to fight, and towns and cities and all that stuff to explore. So they're going for a good, solid adventure that will likely last for a solid amount of time. How that will pan out eventually in its big final release, we will have to see.
All right, yeah. So I think the same. I mean, it's still up in the air if it's going to be, anything like the previous Zelda games in terms of progression. I mean, you can have an open world, but it still will need, some points of like dungeons and progression and stuff like that. So I'm very curious about that too. But what I really wanted to ask you was, playing Breath of the Wild now, you've played the Wii U version for a little while, and you've also played the Switch version. Now, how does it feel in terms of control, like holding the Switch controller? You told me that the grip that you tried, that wasn't really mainly your favorite. So did you try that one out for Breath of the Wild on the Switch?
No, I actually used the Pro Controller for that game.
Awesome. And how was that? How was the Pro Controller for the Switch?
The Pro Controller... Okay, so I will freely admit the Pro Controller for Switch is pricey as heck. Like, it's super pricey. But it has all the functionality that the Joy-Cons does. Like, it has the HD rumble, it has gyroscope built in, it has everything you want. Yeah, it has everything you want. And the major difference for me between the Switch Pro Controller and the Wii U Pro Controller is that, for me, the Switch Pro Controller feels more softer to hold in your hands. Like, you can really nicely wrap your hands around it. Well, the Wii U one felt kind of pointy in some ways. Especially the triggers. So I was holding it in a very comfortable way, and I just really loved how that thing felt. And honestly, it plays very nicely with games like Breath of the Wild or even Splatoon, which we're likely gonna mention in a little bit. But it's especially for Zelda, it felt great. There's nothing against playing it solely with the handheld mode and the Joy-Cons attached to it. Like, it's smaller for sure, but it's still very doable.
All right, so I want to ask you a little question about the triggers. Did you notice anything, analog about the triggers? I mean, that's a question that we get a lot.
Yeah, so there's a twofold here. Like, according to Treehouse Live, and I have not watched this, they are pressure sensitive, but I felt them solely as being digital.
Okay, so just clickable buttons.
Yeah, so there is something weird going on, and I'm not sure where to place that. And I'm still firm in thinking that these are digital buttons, like absolutely 100% sure. Because I know the difference, because I hold a GameCube controller for many years, even when playing Smash still. So yes. I know how that difference feels. And for me, they felt totally digital. But if Treehouse Live says they are somehow pressure sensitive, then I kind of want to see more of that before I make more of a judgment call on that. But it's really hard to say for me, honestly.
So there are many uses for like the Switch controller, the Joy-Cons. We've seen a lot of things happening with the HD rumble, which looks amazing, and I can't wait to try that out myself.
Okay, so real talk. HD rumble.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's break that down, okay?
For sure. Let's do it.
So the Joy-Cons. So 1-2 Switch is not the most amazing game in the world. I will freely admit that. But there were some really interesting minigames there. One in particular that I would instantly go back to is Save Crack, where you have to tilt the Joy-Con 360 degrees and find 3 different holes within the lock of a save.
Oh, that's awesome.
And the rumble you really feel how that rumble changes the game, because it can trigger very specific points on how that rumble feels. Like, you can hold a very hard noise in your hands the moment you go over the spot you need to go to, which feels amazing. And the other points of interest then have just little cracks, or you hear little spots just vibrating in your hands, and then you know that you simply have to carry on to find that correct moment. But man, even like the gyroscoping and the motion in that feels so well done. Like it feels in a way it feels kind of similar to what the HTC 5 does in VR. Like, yeah, because the Wii remote is all about pointing. Like, it does more, but it's ultimately made for pointing, right? Where the Joy-Cons differ is that they are made for motion sensing. So you tilt them around, you can do stuff freely with it without even having the need for that television. And especially in a game like 1-2 Switch, they really showcase that a lot.
Oh man, awesome. So did you play any other games on 1-2 Switch? I mean, I think I saw a video of you milking a cow. That looked pretty fun.
Yeah, milking a cow, it's totally gifable, 100%.
I will do that right now.
So that game is weird. So when you're holding the Joy-Con by itself and not attached to the handheld mode or the grip, you can put a little attachment to it that adds an SL and an SR button and a strap for your hand, so you can hold it better, right? So the point of that game is then to first trigger the SL button, slowly make a motion downward, and then press the SR button as you are going down to get more milk from the cow there. So that might sound really goofy, but it showcases what those buttons on the side really can do. And it also shows that despite having the two triggers still on the side of the Joy-Con, they thought about still making aerodynamically in a way that makes sense. And another way they showcase this is with, again, going back to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, they had this little steering wheel attachment, which they gave us to play the battle mode with. And those buttons on the back are more raised in that form factor, so you have two additional buttons on the back to actually throw your items and drift, which is even more concise and interesting than what they did with the Wii wheel on Wii and Wii U, which means that you can A, do the items that way, and B, drift that way more freely, which gives you a whole more ways of control.
Oh man, so it sounds like there's a lot of tech involved in these little Joy-Con things, and as awesome as that is, to me it kind of looks very finicky, very small. As you know, the control stick on the left, you'll get mangled up in those buttons pretty quickly. Your thumbs will almost touch. How is that?
So I have huge, ginormous hands.
Like most Dutch people, big hands, yeah.
Well, I'm also fat, so that also helps. Ha ha ha.
I don't think that helps. I think it I don't know. My hands are pretty big too.
But I was expecting to not like these small controllers at all.
Yeah.
I was wrong.
Oh, okay.
I was dead wrong. These actually kind of feel nice on their side.
Wow. So you tried them out with Mario Kart then?
Mario Kart, 1-2 Switch, but also with Super Bomberman R.
Oh, cool.
So we played 4-player mode, which that game felt kind of vanilla. It really felt like a vanilla Bomberman game, nothing truly special or unique. But it showcased what those really small controllers can do, and they're very capable of delivering like local multiplayer fun, which is cool.
Nice.
And yeah, another way how they showcase those controllers in a very significant way, I feel, is the game Arms.
Oh, that looks awesome. Did you get to play Arms?
I got to play Arms, yeah.
Wow. Oh man, that game looks really cool actually.
Yeah, the game is super fun. It's like Punch Out with whatever dull scene from Street Fighter was eating.
I think it kind of reminds me of sort of Rock'em Sock'em Robots meets
That too. That's
Pokken Tournament or something.
Yeah, it's more an arena-based battle than Pokken Tournament, but
All right.
it's really fun. Like
So talk a little bit about the game. Like, how does it work?
with the Joy-Cons, yeah. So you can use buttons, but I found the Joy-Con way more intriguing. So you hold the Joy-Cons like right up in front of you,
Like a boxer?
like a boxer, and you move from left to the right. You're not using the sticks. You actually use your movement with the Joy-Cons. And then you actually just punch forward to hit your enemy. And you have various alterations of your weapons, and for either fist you can choose whatever you like. But if you like punch them both forward, you grab an enemy and pull them towards you, and then have to punch them very quickly.
Oh, like a combo move or something.
Yeah, you can hold them closely together to block your opponent's attack. And then the triggers on either end are either used for sprinting or jumping. And then you kind of have to avoid, like, while still moving along that way. And it feels... It's not that hard to wrap your head around, but once you know what you need to do, it becomes kind of competitive in a lot of ways. And you kind of have to know how to handle your opponent, or just know how to react on time, because those movements go fast.
Oh, wow. So does it work with a health bar or something like that?
And so that has the health bar system. Like, it's pretty much like a fighter you have like more direct control over.
All right. Yeah, it looks really frantic. I mean, you can jump very high. You can punch from very far away.
Yeah.
So what game would you compare this to ultimately?
It's a bit of Punch-Out, but also like the Flare style of Splatoon.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's very cartoony, very crisp. I like the character designs a ton. I kind of want to know what more is in this game, because we only got to see like this one battle mode, and hopefully there's something more to this game, because it's still like a full price release that Nintendo puts a lot of faith in. So for me, it is a wait and see approach, and see how this game ultimately evolves into something special.
Yeah.
But it's talk about Splatoon 2 actually. We haven't talked about that game.
Yeah, I wanted to make that segue, because you mentioned Splatoon and how Splatoon did something really special with, you know, shooter games, and, you know, ARMS is trying to do something like that with fighters. But as Splatoon 2 goes, it is not a port. It turns out it's Splatoon 2. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's Splatoon 2. So we got to see the first level of the game, which is called the Reef.
Oh, wow.
And the Reef is a very symmetrical level, like way more even than Urchin Underpass. Because you both start at the top from your spawning point, you go lower and lower, and then the beneath floor has a large open area. And there are bridges and everywhere, there are places to go back up on high, and as you get closer to the opponent's base, you rise back to the occasion and try to rise back to the top. But it's a more open and wider level, which I really enjoyed. There's a lot of space to move around in, and there is also a lot of space to get sneaky and try to avoid your opponents that way.
Oh, very nice.
But like the main thing that I loved about that demo were the Splat Dualies, which is one of the new weapons in Splatoon 2. The Splat Dualies, I was playing it with the Pro Controller. Allow you to have two balls, circles one in front of you, and shoot a large spray of ink right in front of you, right ahead of you, and that is really fun, because those beams go really fast. So you will drain your ink slightly more faster than usual, but in return you also have a large range, especially as handy to shoot enemies that are from afar. So there's a really good intricate details to that weapon. And especially when you rank up a lot of points and eventually get to your special attack, which transforms you into the Jet Ink, which allows you to fly into the air and shoot paint, like actual big paintballs at the ground everywhere around you.
Special moves or something like that.
the special move that's always there in Splatoon. When you rank up enough points, you fill up the meter and then you get a special attack. But that one is so much longer than anything like the Kraken or even the Ink Strike, because you are allowed to stay there for like 30 seconds into, like 20 seconds into the air, just shoot those gigantic balls around you, which feels utterly fantastic.
Wow, man, I can't wait to try that one out. I mean, it feels like, it has a lot of new stuff to it. It has new weapons. Did you get to see like a lot of new costumes, something like that?
Oh, the costumes and the hair are some of the most. So actually, you can check this out directly feed on my YouTube channel.
Awesome. So what's the link?
It's on YouTube at youtube.com/NintenDaan1. Which there are 2 direct feed videos where I showcase the Reef and how Splat dualies, but also how the splatter shot has evolved in Splatoon 2. But it's I was feeling it again, man. I love Splatoon, and now I want to play Splatoon 2, and I will have to wait a little bit longer, but man, I want that game already now, because it's the thing that I actually want to play the Switch actively for.
Yeah, exactly. Like Breath of the Wild is one of those big games that you can get lost in, but Splatoon, that's the game that you play on the train and stuff like that. It's for quick fun.
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh man, so there's actually one more very important thing that I want to ask you, because we've been over most major games, right? So you have seen the Switch presentation, and I just got to ask you, what do you think of Super Mario Odyssey?
Oh, I love Super Mario Odyssey. It looks so good.
Yeah, I have the same. We started a brand new show here on Block Content just for Mario Odyssey because the trailer was so packed full of awesome moments.
Yes, I saw some negative reaction to the New York S level, but I love that stuff. Like making it more multi-dimensional and trying some new different things with Mario is exactly why I signed up with Nintendo. And the last couple of games didn't really do that. I did really love Super Mario 3D Land, but I think they threaded that stuff a bit too much with 3D World. And Galaxy, for all of the things that it has done right, it was still quite a linear game. So I'm sort of excited to see that return to a more open world style and see how they can evolve it on a current gen system.
Yeah, they gave Mario his moves back finally. It feels like Mario can finally do all those crazy awesome jumps that he was able to do back then. And, in the 3D World games, they stripped away some of the moves. They made the games more linear. And even in Galaxy, every single game that went onward, Mario got a little less moves and everything got a little more linear. But now it feels like, Mario can even spin dash like Sonic off hills. I mean, Mario can slide jump forward. So I'm curious, are you a big fan of like these open world games, and do you think Mario fits open world?
So I like both, right? I can see the value in both of them. That's why initially I loved Super Mario 3D Land so much, because it did something while combining elements of Super Mario Bros. 3, which is one of my favorite Mario games ever.
Yeah.
So it did some really fancy stuff there, but I felt that they leaned with that stuff a bit too much in Super Mario 3D World. I felt that they should have evolved it a bit more, and that game, that kind of style, was way more made for a handheld like the Nintendo 3DS. At the same time, I also, at the other half, loved Super Mario 64 and Mario Sunshine, so seeing something like that return is not all that bad either. And it has been a long time since the GameCube, so for me, it also feels like a time to return to it and see how it ends and comes together.
Yeah, Mario's now making the jump to different worlds, which looks really weird because, Mario is now in, maybe the real world. New Donk City is what they call it. And I agree with you. It fits Mario for some reason. Nintendo has putting Mario in the real world in a couple of trailers. The Super Mario Run trailer, Mario was in the real world. I think for the Olympic Games, Mario is in the real world. And even in the Universal Parks video, Mario was also, walking next to Shigeru Miyamoto. So they're kind of playing with the idea that Mario is real. So I would love to see where that goes. And I just wanted to ask you if there are any final thoughts on having to have played the Switch, or things that you look forward to, maybe in future events, or, well, the console is launching in like just a few short weeks. So what are you excited about?
Like what is it, like 6 or something?
It's crazy. It's so close.
Let me see. It's now the 14th. Yeah, 6 weeks.
6 weeks. That's crazy.
Yeah, 6 weeks. So yeah. I didn't expect, by the way, to come this out so soon, but...
No, I have the same feeling. I was like, wait, March... did they mean April? Did they make a mistake in the slideshow? It was like, what? It's March 3rd?
Yeah. This is unprecedented for Nintendo too, you know, because I have followed Nintendo for a very long time. I've been covering them actively for almost 11 years now. For all of their March launches, they never have this done this early in March. All of their March launches, like traditionally... have between the last or the final week in March. So this is unprecedented even by their standards. They are launching, they have launched a new system in the first week of March, which is again unprecedented at all.
Wow.
So it's kind of insane. But that being said, you were asking actually me for my impressions, so here we go. Yeah, I was going way off the topic, I'm sorry. Yeah. I really love the hardware. I think it has a lot of potential. It's a bit pricey, but yeah, okay, I can deal with that eventually if the lineup was a bit better. But currently, the lineup for the first couple of weeks is kind of there. I like a lot of the elements in 1-2-Switch, but I don't see it being more deeper than a party game. And so the only big game you have there currently is Breath of the Wild. And we'll have to see what third parties are going to do and how the final launch lineup will be. And maybe we'll see that in a week or so and have a better idea and understanding from what the final selection will look like. But, and this is most importantly, we do need to look above the horizon and see how much potential this thing has. And when compared to Wii U, and I've witnessed Wii U from E3 2012 until its very end, I never felt that Nintendo had it on lock. They never did. And while I do see some stubbornness by Nintendo still, especially even after what Wii U ended up to be, the concepts are way stronger with this thing than Wii U ever was. And you can see it in stark contrast with what they're trying to offer in the Joy-Cons, what they're doing with the Pro Controller. They have thought about every single aspect of the hardware in itself, which is important because it's still a thing that you'll play with for 4 or 5 years, because that's what ultimately a gaming console should be.
Yeah.
So they have given this a good amount of thought, but it's, for me currently, the biggest worry is more about the software and how that lineup will end up being. And especially with E3 and stuff still coming on the horizon, I really have to hope that they just showcase a whole bunch more. Because we know for a couple of months, and then Mario Odyssey like later down the line. But honestly, it needs a whole ton more to succeed, especially come holiday season.
Yeah, I mean, we need to hear about those Metroids and perhaps the Kirby games. And yeah, I agree with you. I also thought that Mario Odyssey would be like close to a launch title or a launch title, because they've had quite a lot of development time in between 3D World now. But it's still coming in the holiday. It's still coming at the end of this year, which is a little bit surprising, but they need all that time. I mean, the game looks fantastic already. So I agree with you.
Right.
The launch lineup looks a little, meek in comparison to what we all thought it was going to be. They didn't necessarily announce a ton of games, but the games that they did announce, including games like ARMS, I mean, those are promising new concepts, and this console, it will probably take a year before developers and Nintendo itself have really figured out how you can optimally use, the HD rumble, the Joy-Cons, and everything about the screen, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But at the same time, we have given the Wii U also a lot of time, especially in the last year, and I think we need to be a bit more vigilant than what happened after the last time they tried to pull this off. And I'm not knocking anything against Nintendo. They are totally allowed to do what they think they are. But it is important, especially for us, and especially now this is just one pure SKU, that they do this justice.
For sure. So there you have it, guys. That was NintenDaan, exclusively here on Block Content. Very happy to have you, by the way. Thank you.
No problem at all, yeah.
So it was a lot of fun discussing, what you thought about the Switch, and what you thought of the presentation as well, and holding the Switch and playing all those games. Very jealous of you, and of course we will get the chance to play that very soon. And if it's going to be launch day, then it will just be 6 weeks, so we don't have to wait all that long, you Block buddies. Anyways, I want to thank our special guest Daan again. Thank you, Daan, for being amazing.
No worries, no worries.
Always being the Don guy. So we want to thank our Block buddies at home, and if you want to keep on track with a lot of the Nintendo Switch news that's coming in, well, it's always around the corner here on Blocked Content, so press that subscribe button and we'll have a lot of fun together with our awesome Blocked family. Anyways, we'll see you guys later, and Don, where can people find you?
You can find me, well, let me say, just find me on Twitter, which is at NintenDaan, that's NintenDaan. I post a lot of stuff of the other things that I do, so it's a good overview of what I'm currently doing and where I'm at.
And people can click links and they'll be at your YouTube, and click other links and they'll be at...
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, of course. Well, that's awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time, and we'll see you guys around the corner where there's always more Nintendo Switch news.